I'm going to punch it up here. I'll find it for you. But okay, I'll paraphrase it instead of trying to give the exact quote. What it was in, I think, 2007 it was. For those of you not familiar, Westboro Baptist Church, small religious sect, Christians in this country. I believe they're based out of either Michigan or Wisconsin, somewhere up there. I beg forgiveness of those who don't want to be identified in whichever state he's not in. But, these are the people that are picketing military funerals of fallen soldiers, teaching children before they can speak to carry signs that say God hates fags, God hates the United States, all this. And there was a 60 Minutes Australia episode that was broadcast, I think, in 2007, 2008, and the interviewer said to Phelps, you're known as the most hated family in America. And he said, yeah. And she said, how do you feel about that? He said, well, I get pissed. Because the opposite way. I get pissed because we should be known as we should be known as the most hated family in the world, or we're not doing our job right. And then the interviewer tried to say something. I'm getting really close to having this quote. That's why I'm stalling for time. The interviewer tried to say something along the lines of. The interviewer tried to say something to him along the lines of what about love? What about love in the Bible and all these forgiveness and all? And Fred Phelps, Reverend Fred Phelps, leader and founder of the Westboro Baptist Church, said you cannot believe the Bible or read the Bible without knowing that God Almighty mentions His hatred, His wrath, His indignation at the sins of mankind more than He talks about His love. So if you're a Bible preacher, you're preaching hate. That's what Fred Phelps said. Well, I find it to be very ironic that this hateful, bigoted man is actually, in my opinion, the only Christian religious leader in the whole world that actually tells the truth about what the Bible does dictate. And it's also, I guess, related to that most atheists, agnostics, anti-theists, and non-believers, for the most part, have read way more have read way more of the religious text than those that actually follow them. Because we need to, atheists, in my opinion, you see who they are people that are seriously dedicated to finding out the truth. And I mean, in this world today, I believe, it's even here in the United States, I believe it's harder to come out of the closet as an atheist than it is to come out of the closet as being homosexual. I mean, I think same-sex preferences is tolerated and accepted way more than non-belief in a mythical man in the sky. Jesse Ventura, one of my heroes, of course, said that organized religion is a sham, a crutch for weak-minded people who need to strengthen the strength of numbers. It tells people to go out and stick their noses in other people's business. The religious right wants to tell people how to live. And I think that's pretty much part of what is motivating this whole the Captain Atheist show, Captain Atheist existence, is that we are not being allowed to live unmolested by these myths and superstitions. We are forced to live in a world that's brought to the brink of global destruction over greed and, of course, religious ideology. So, man, Gus is missing in action here. Like I said, next week it's going to be a whole different ball game here, people, with like lots of fun, creative stuff, lots of music, lots of sound bites that you're going to enjoy. We just had this technical glitch that brought us down this week. So I appreciate all of you that are with me now. I hope that I've at least started to spur some thoughts in your mind. I hope some of you are thinking of participating and calling in. It's going to be a nice journey, and hopefully we're all going to learn some things together, and hopefully we're all going to make a difference. I think that I can never stress enough that the main motivation, I think, would be thinking of the children and thinking of the future, because, I mean, it's easy. You could say, hey, well, this is what I think, and I can keep it to myself. I don't care. They're all deluded. I don't have to make anyone not believe in their mythical man in the sky. But the truth of the matter is, we can't. We can't live in a world that's run by superstition and myth, that's ignoring science and truth. Everything from the perception of a soul, to, you know, where we go when we die. Science can explain these things. And I'm put in mind of John Lennon, you know, of his great song Imagine, and how I was recently quite miffed that a certain performer had the audacity to change the lyrics that were, as John Lennon wrote them, and no religion too. And someone on New Year's Eve, I'm not going to name this guy's name because I think he's such a putz for what he did. I don't want to give him any publicity, but a certain R&B singer had the balls to say, and all religions true, instead of no religion too. And I believe that if it was possible for someone to roll over in their grave, which it's not, because when we die we cease to exist, I think that if I'm glad that we don't exist later, because certainly John Lennon, after all he contributed to changing our society for the better, toward fighting toward truth and causing people to think and have a higher conscience, I think that he would have been greatly offended by someone changing that core thought. And I want to clarify, I'm not saying that John Lennon was an atheist, because he was not. More toward the end of his life, he was a believer of something being there, bigger than ourselves, but he just didn't know what it was. And certainly, if someone would believe that way, would just believe that way, that there's something there, but we don't know what it is. It's okay. Certainly, that would be less effective on our lives in a detrimental way. We're going to be in the next few weeks getting into some of the great thinkers and leaders of the atheist movement, starting all the way back there with Aristotle and the Senecas in Rome. But of course, absolutely, Christopher Hitchens, Richard Dawkins, and of course Sam Harris. Sam Harris said, if we expect God to subscribe to one religion at the exclusion of all the others, then we should expect damnation as a matter of chance. This should give Christians pause when expounding their religious beliefs, but it does not. In other words, what he's saying there, if you didn't completely comprehend the quote, is that with all these religions, only one of you, I say none of them are right, but okay, let's say that one of them is right. Well, that means that the others are wrong. So just by statistics, by odds, you know, you have a great chance of being wrong. You know, now Richard Dawkins says the God of the Old Testament is arguably the most unpleasant character in all fiction. Jealous and proud of it, a petty, unjust, unforgiving control freak, a vindictive, bloodthirsty ethnic cleanser, a misogynistic, homophobic, racist, infanticidal, genocidal, filicidal, pestilential, megalomaniacal, sadomasochistic, capriciously malevolent bully. That is a mouthful of Greek salad for some people, and something that you don't want to say very fast. But very obviously, I mean, everybody, this is not my original thought, but I came to this idea in my head before I started hearing, omnipotent, sure. That's an omnipotent being that we just described right there, right? That's a joke. That's an LMAO, people, is your abbreviation on the net, you know, laughing. No, it's an LMMFAO, laughing my motherfucking ass off that this is an omnipotent, malevolent being is an omnipotent one. I guess basically the real thing is that if an omnipotent being existed, it would be content. Why would it feel the need to create, to satiate its own ego? Let alone, as in the major religions, you know, according to Christianity, Judaism, God created humans. No, actually, in their books, God created man in his own image, because women, of course, are something lesser that come from a body part of a man, which is ludicrous. I mean, how any woman can adhere to religion when religion is so at its core a male-dominated thing made to suppress religion, to suppress women, is beyond my comprehension. How any female cannot see what religion really is about when it comes to them. And so, you know, this creator makes humankind in his own image, which means filled with all the flaws and everything that are inherent in us, would come from that creator. So apparently that creator would be flawed. So you've already kind of wrecked your own perception of what a creator is, because if how could this creator be flawed? So the flaws are put there, sin is put there. Our lives are short; they're finite, but setting up a path where we can all make mistakes, so that we can be judged and condemned and punished for all of eternity. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. It doesn't make any sense. No rationality in a belief in this invisible person, because if your God was what you claim and perceive your God to be, your God would have had no need for you. Your God would not have the petty consciousness of a human being. The idea that I'm going to set you up and test you to make you prove yourself to me is human. It's not omnipotent. It's not something higher. And it's like Conan, in the books and in the movie. If that's you, Crom, then fuck you. I mean, if that's what God is, if God is a person that put us here filled with flaws so that we could fuck up, so he could punish us, why the fuck would you want to worship that, people? Why would you want to look up to that? Never mind the fact that it's just a ludicrous notion. It's completely ridiculous. Richard Dawkins said, I believe in people. And people, when given the right to think for themselves about all the information now available, very often turn out not to believe in God, and then subsequently lead fulfilled and satisfied, indeed liberated lives. The great Richard Dawkins. Food for thought, people. We only got 3 minutes left. So I'd like to say, make sure you consider some of these thoughts. Do some reading, people. Turn yourselves on to Hitchens, Dawkins, Kaku, Sam Harris, George Carlin, Bill Maher, Joe Rogan. All these, just so many, from people from Edison, from Thomas Edison to Albert Einstein. Excuse me. The list, from Katharine Hepburn to Janine Garofalo. I mean, you look at the atheists that exist. Seth Green. They're just, learn that first. Learn who the major thinkers and doers and shakers of our human race have been for the last 2,000 years, and look and find out and discover really how many people you look up to that have influenced you, that have bettered your life. The internet, people, was invented by a gay atheist. So if you're going to pound your Bible or any other book and stand on a soapbox about sin, then prove you're at least sincere. Vest yourself of all things that come from godless people like us. The bottom line is, this all goes right back to people needing to belong socially somewhere. Right now, the rich people, they're working to maintain their wealth and stay in power. Same holds true with the leaders of religion, okay? They're working to keep you deluded so that they can maintain their control over humanity. And ultimately, the two things are tied together. Wealth and influence tied to big business, okay, is inescapable, and excuse me 1 second. Next week, like I said, we're going to talk about, we're going to open up with some heavy metal. We're going to kick your asses, and we're going to have Captain Atheist's first adventure that you're going to enjoy. We're going to be having a lot of sound bites and clips and things like that, and we're going to cover televangelists next week, people. So once again, I make all my excuses possible for the technical difficulties we had this week, not being able to bring you the music, the sound bites, and everything else like that. And next week, we're going to be a lot more organized. We just didn't want to cancel at the last minute on any of you. So I want to thank you all for being with us in this premiere episode of the Captain Atheist Show. And next week, get ready to have your socks rocked in. Thank you to ITR. This is Captain Atheist signing out from the age of myth, delusion, hatred, racism, fear, and suppression, and going back till next week to the 25th century.